If you've been scrolling through endless lists of wine coolers, staring at the same glossy images and wondering whether any of them will actually fit into your cramped kitchen or cozy bedroom, you're not alone. I've been in that exact spot, comparing dimensions, temperature ranges, and the promise of smart features, only to end up more confused than when I started. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video, I'll break down the 32-liter model from Elle, walk through what it really does for a home wine enthusiast, and point out the moments where it might actually save you a few dollars or cost you a lot more in frustration. First off, let's talk about why a dedicated wine cooler matters at all. Most people think a regular fridge will do, but wine is a temperature-sensitive beverage. A few degrees too warm can accelerate oxidation, while an overly cold environment dulls aromas. That's why the market is flooded with units promising perfect storage and whisper-quiet operation. The L32L cooler tries to hit that sweet spot with a digital temperature control that you can set anywhere between 45°F and 65°F, plus a BL-enabled app that supposedly lets you adjust the setting from your phone. In practice, the biggest question is whether those features translate into everyday convenience or just add another layer of tech you'll never use. If you're a casual drinker who occasionally opens a bottle at dinner, you probably don't need an entire appliance dedicated to a few bottles. In that scenario, a small countertop cooler or even a well-ventilated wine rack might be enough. The 32-liter capacity, however, holds roughly 40 standard bottles, so it starts to make sense for anyone with a budding collection. Think of a young couple who's building a starter library, a small-scale hobbyist who wants to keep reds and whites separate, or an apartment dweller who wants to avoid the clunk of a full-size fridge opening in the middle of the night. Now, let's get into the practical strengths that actually matter once you've unpacked the unit and plugged it in. The most noticeable advantage is the all-metal design. Unlike many entry-level models that combine plastic fronts with metal backs, this unit's door and frame are solid metal, which helps maintain a more stable internal temperature. The triple-layered U-shielding door is another claim that feels relevant. If you store lighter wines or those you plan to age, protecting them from sunlight can prevent premature fading. In a sunlit apartment, that door does indeed keep the interior from heating up when the kitchen window is left open. Another point that shows up in real-world use is the Whisper Quiet label. When I set the cooler next to my bedroom nightstand, the hum was barely audible, even when the compressor kicked in. That matters if you share a small space with a partner who's sensitive to background noise. The digital temperature control is intuitive, with a simple dial that adjusts the set point and 3 indicator lights that give you a quick glance at whether the unit is cooling, holding steady, or if there's a fault. The BLE app, while not essential, can be handy if you're already on your phone checking a recipe and want to confirm the wine is at the right temperature before opening the door. The app also sends alerts if the temperature deviates by more than a degree or two, which is a nice safety net for those who forget to close the door quickly. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs you should be aware of before you click Add to Cart. First, the unit is freestanding and occupies roughly 15 inches in width, 18 inches in depth, and 33 inches in height. That sounds compact on paper, but you'll need enough clearance on all sides for proper ventilation, about an inch on the back and sides. If your kitchen layout is tight, you might find the cooler humming against a wall, which can strain the compressor and raise energy consumption. An additional practical weakness is the limited internal adjustability. The shelves are fixed, so you can't reconfigure the interior to accommodate taller bottles like champagne or magnum formats without sacrificing some storage capacity. For many home users, this isn't a deal-breaker, but if you plan to store a variety of bottle sizes, you'll have to think about how to fit them in. Energy usage is another area where the real cost shows up over time. The cooler draws about 150 watts on average, which translates to roughly 130 kilowatt-hours per year if left running continuously. That's comparable to a small dishwasher, but it's still an extra line on your utility bill. If you're trying to keep monthly expenses low, consider whether you'll actually keep the unit running 24/7 or if you'll turn it off when you're away for an extended period. The built-in digital thermostat isn't as precise as a high-end wine cellar unit. You'll see small fluctuations of a few degrees throughout the day, which is generally acceptable but not ideal for long-term aging that demands strict temperature stability. Who should buy this? The answer.